They placed me on the patio, away from the chandeliers, away from the polished laughter and crystal toasts, where the chairs creaked and the air smelled like grass. Through the glass doors, I watched my family raise their glasses. My brother laughed loudly, already halfway into his second story. My sister flipped her hair, glowing in golden compliments. No one looked my way. My mother sat beside me, perfectly poised. "We figured you'd feel more comfortable out here," she said gently. Out here meant forgotten. Out here meant quiet failure. I smiled, just enough to be polite. No reaction, no protest, because silence, when timed right, is power. Inside the table was full of noise, full of pride, full of themselves. They toasted each other's wins like medals earned in war. Mark's new project, Anna's magazine spread. Not a single toast had my name, not even a glance. My chair outside wobbled on uneven stone. The tablecloth flapped in the breeze. No candles, no centerpiece, no effort. But I didn't move. I watched. Collected every comment, every look, every absence. It wasn't the first time they celebrated without me. They just never noticed how much I was building while they were busy performing. This wasn't new. At every family event, I became the empty space between other people's conversations. I learned to nod at stories I wasn't in, to laugh at jokes not meant for me. One birthday, they gifted me a book titled Finding Yourself. They meant well, which often means nothing at all. Mark once introduced me as the tech girl, something with apps, I think. Anna told her friends I worked remote doing little projects. My father told the club I was still figuring things out. I was never lost. They just weren't looking, and I never corrected them. Because some truths are more powerful when revealed late. I checked my phone. 3 missed calls, 1 from my head of legal, 2 from the CFO. The deal was accelerating. A note popped up. Urgent board call. Asia opens in 3 hours. 8 billion at stake. I locked the screen and looked up. Inside, my brother clinked his glass to another minor win. My sister smiled for photos. My mother adjusted the seating chart again without me. They had no idea. Not about the company, not about the acquisition, not about who I really was. Because when you build quietly, you're always underestimated. Until you're not. Did you hear about Mark's new office building? My mother beamed. 20 million in value and already half leased. I nodded. She placed a salad in front of me like I was a guest at my own family. And Anna's line is being featured in Vogue, she added. Her eyes sparkled. Not for me. I smiled again. A small, practice smile. My jet was waiting with final contracts inside. The deal that would make avowing their wins look like weekend hobbies. But I said nothing. Let them speak. Let them believe what they wanted. Because I wasn't here to impress them. I was here to remember. Mark raised his glass toward me through the open door. To Claire, he called, grinning, the one person who always keeps our egos in check by staying modest. Everyone laughed. It wasn't funny, but it was familiar. Anna leaned toward someone beside her. She's always been more grounded. That word again. Grounded. Plain. Small. I took a sip of water. Not wine. Not champagne. The patio didn't get celebration drinks, but I didn't flinch. I'd been called modest. So many times they forgot modesty can be armor. I remembered being 8. Watching from the hallway as they unwrapped gifts in the living room. I'd gotten a sweater. They got applause. I was the quiet one. The low-maintenance child. They praised me for not needing much. The truth? They never asked what I needed. They just enjoyed not having to care. At school, I built robots. At home, I set the table. They framed me as helpful, not brilliant. And I let them. Because while they chased attention, I was learning how power works in silence. Mark's expanding the family firm, my father announced. Smart real estate plays strong instincts. He's a real Morgan. Everyone clapped. Even the waiter paused to smile. I wasn't mentioned. Again. He's got vision, Dad said proud and loud. Legacy thinking, that's what builds dynasties. Legacy. The word landed heavy. He didn't know I'd quietly saved that same dynasty from bankruptcy 6 months ago. They called him visionary. I just called the auditors. Anna waved her phone. Claire, you've got to see this. My dress is in Vogue's top 10. It's iconic. I looked. I smiled. It was loud, expensive, perfect for her. She glanced at my outfit and sighed. You know, minimalism is risky when you're already invisible. Another smile. Another stab in silk. I looked down at my black dress. Tailored, understated, pricier than her rent. They thought visibility was volume. I knew better. True presence never needs a spotlight. My phone buzzed again, my CFO this time. One word accelerating, then another urgent. I typed back one sentence, ready the boardroom. Inside, my family was still mid-toast. Anna was retelling her Paris story. Mark was drawing expansion plans on a napkin. None of them looked at me. None of them noticed the clock. But I knew. In 30 minutes, everything they thought they knew would expire. And I'd still be on the patio. For now. Mark leaned back, swirling his drink. We're projecting 50 million in deals next year, he said. Real growth, not tech illusions. Anna nodded. Real estate's tangible, she added. Not like those apps that disappear overnight. I smiled without humor. Phoenix Tech had just bought 3 major data firms last quarter, tangible enough for the SEC to call it historic. But I didn't explain. I let their version of truth play on. Sometimes letting them speak is the most efficient silence. My sister glanced at my bag. Claire, that's not really a power look. She was holding a $4,000 clutch. I was holding control. That briefcase says, teacher, not CEO, she said, laughing. She had no idea I'd carried 2 sets of contracts, one for the deal and one for the company they all thought was still in the family. Style mattered to them. Substance never did. Until substance owned everything they thought they built. Dad looked over briefly. And you, Claire? He tried to sound interested. How's your computer thing? I nodded. It's fine. He smiled as if I'd confirmed his belief that I was still figuring life out, that I was still stuck in some side project phase. He turned back before I could answer more. Because he didn't want more. He wanted to remain correct. That was always easier than realizing how wrong he had quietly become. My phone buzzed again. Final offer accepted. Contract en route. Deal value 8.02B. I stood slowly adjusting my seat. No one noticed. Anna was talking about her Vogue spread again. Mark was showing Dad graphs on his phone. A breeze passed through the patio. I looked up. The sky was clear. A black dot appeared, small but steady. Right on time. 20 minutes early. The storm was inbound. Leaving already? Mark called from the open door. Come on, Claire. You haven't even touched dessert. He smiled. He always smiled when he mocked. Big Zoom call, he laughed. Another tech team up that no one's heard of? I met his eyes. Softly. Quietly. It's something like that, I said. He laughed again. That easy, dismissive laugh people use when they're too proud to feel the ground shifting. My mother leaned in with a soft smile. It's just, your career path has always been so different. She adjusted her napkin like it was a delicate truth. We figured you might be more comfortable out here, she repeated. Voice gentle, like lace but sharp beneath. She still thought this was kindness, that exclusion wrapped in etiquette was somehow love. I nodded like always, because I no longer needed her to understand. Inside, Mark raised his voice again. We're negotiating a $20 million land deal next quarter. Dad clapped. Anna beamed. Now that's building something real, Dad said proud. A legacy with weight. Through the glass, I heard every word. They echoed louder than the chopper I already knew was coming. Their world was paper thin, louder, yes, but not heavier. They were still toasting a kingdom already sold. A faint hum broke the air. At first, no one noticed. The clink of glasses still dominated. I looked up. A black helicopter, small but steady, moved toward us. My company's insignia shone on the tail. No one inside saw it yet. They were too busy celebrating. My phone buzzed again. Board assembled. Final signature required. ETA 10 mins. I slipped the phone back into my briefcase and waited. I stood from the patio chair, brushed my skirt, picked up my case. No drama, no sound. Anna glanced my way and frowned. Are you leaving? Her tone was both pity and judgment. Just something I need to handle, I replied. Mark chuckled. Startup drama, forgot to pay the hosting fee. He winked, like I was still someone they could afford to mock. The sound grew louder. The others noticed this time. Glasses paused mid-air, eyes turned toward the sky. My mother squinted, shielding her eyes. Who would fly a helicopter over a private event? Anna looked annoyed. This place is supposed to be exclusive. No one knew it was for me. Not yet. I placed my briefcase on the stone table, lined it up precisely. Then I smiled. Not for them. For what was coming. The helicopter hovered, lower blades slicing the silence. The wind picked up rustling linen napkins and blowing Anna's hair off her shoulder. Mark stood up confused. My father stepped forward to get a better look. The logo was unmistakable. A black phoenix wing spread wide. It meant nothing to them, but to the markets, to the boardrooms, it meant power. The chopper slowed, beginning its descent on the club's private lawn. Someone gasped inside. Anna dropped her fork. I didn't move. I'd been still for years. Security stepped out first. 3 of them suits, crisp, movements exact. The crowd near the clubhouse started whispering. Phones came out. One man walked toward me with purpose. "Ms. Morgan," he said, "board is waiting. Contract is ready. We need your signature now." Mark squinted. My mother froze. No one spoke. I closed my briefcase and stood fully. For the first time all evening, every eye turned toward me. I stepped forward slowly, heels clicking softly on the stone. Every footstep sounded louder than it should have. No one called out, no one mocked. Inside, a champagne flute slipped from someone's hand. It shattered against tile. "Claire," my father said, uncertain. Anna's mouth opened, but nothing came out. I turned to the man beside me. "Let's finalize it," I said. He nodded. 8.02 billion, everything's in place. I could feel their stares behind me. The patio wasn't so quiet now. "You're the CEO, Mark asked, voice too high. "The CEO of that company?" I looked at him, calm. "The same company that's been acquiring firms across 3 continents. Anna stepped forward, her voice cracking. "But you were always just with computers." "Yes," I said. "While you were performing, I was building." My father blinked. My mother reached for her pearls, then let her hand fall. I didn't raise my voice, didn't boast. Truth didn't need volume, only timing. I faced my father. "You mentioned legacy," I said quietly. "You should know I bought the family company last month." Silence. Even the wind seemed to stop. Mark stared at me, stunned. "But that's impossible. That's mine." "No," I said. "It was yours. It was failing." Anna whispered, "You bought it? Through who?" "Through a shell corp. Clean, quiet." I paused, like everything I do. And just like that, the family name no longer belonged to them. It belonged to me. No one spoke. Mark's lips moved, but no words came out. Anna looked like someone had pulled the floor out from under her heels. My father stepped toward me. "You bought our company?" I nodded. "Through a holding firm?" Quietly. "While you were too busy celebrating 5% gains." My mother's hand tightened around her glass. It didn't shatter, but it looked like it wanted to. "Funny. They'd always said I was too quiet. Now my silence had swallowed everything." Anna reached out. "Claire, you should have told us. We could have helped." "Helped?" I nearly laughed. "She once said I wasn't strategic enough for real business." "I didn't need help," I said. "I needed room, which you gave me out here." Mark shook his head. "Wait, we should talk. You and I, maybe we merge some things?" I raised an eyebrow. "You mean the thing I already own merging with itself?" Even the trees seemed to pause for that one. My father cleared his throat. "Well, perhaps we should rearrange seating. The head of the table feels more appropriate now." I tilted my head. "Now you want me at the head?" Years of exclusion condensed into a sentence pretending to be respect. I looked inside at the seats they'd filled without me. Seats they once said I hadn't earned. Then I looked back at him. "I'm fine standing," and I was, taller than ever. My briefcase clicked open. I pulled out a thin folder. The Phoenix Tech acquisition terms, already signed, already sealed. My mother glanced down at the cover page. Her hand trembled. Her pearls didn't save her now. "Claire Morgan," she read softly, "founder and CEO." Mark whispered something to himself. Anna just stared. I didn't gloat. I didn't raise my voice. The papers spoke louder than any toast ever had. The second helicopter appeared in the distance, a sleek, smaller one. No logo. Legal documents only. Anna blinked. "There's another one? Just paperwork," I said. "When you're closing an $8 billion deal, you don't Uber it." Mark tried again. "We can rebuild together. Morgan legacy, but stronger." "You mean the company I pulled out of debt last quarter?" I smiled. My father said nothing. He didn't need to. He knew. The legacy no longer carried his name. It carried mine. Anna stepped closer, voice softer now. I'd love to style you for your Forbes shoot, Claire. You deserve to shine. This was the same woman who once said I dressed like a placeholder. Mark added, let's revisit strategy together. There's real synergy here. He sounded like a man trying to lease back the building he lost last week. I looked at both of them. No anger, no revenge, just clarity. You don't unsee the truth once it's finally spoken. Dad finally found his voice. Claire, you've always had potential. We see it now. Now. He reached out like he was offering something, but his hands were empty. For years, he gave his pride to my brother, gave his attention to my sister, gave me distance dressed as freedom, and now he wanted legacy. But legacy had already changed its address. My phone lit up. A message from my assistant. Investors are in. Asia team confirmed. Press waiting. I looked at my family one last time. The people who taught me how to stay small by ignoring me. You know, I said quietly, if you hadn't underestimated me so completely, this might have taken longer. Mark looked down. Anna blinked hard. Dad just nodded. Slow, silent, defeated. My mother stepped forward, her voice almost trembling. Darling, we're hosting a private family dinner next week. You should come. Sit at the head. The offer hung in the air, fragile as her wine glass. I smiled. Soft, not cruel. I can't, I said. Another deal's closing that night. The kind of deal you don't toast with people who once called your work a hobby. The wind shifted again. The second helicopter landed soft and sure. My legal team stepped out, folders in hand. I turned to go. Mark called after me. Claire, let's talk soon. Okay, reconnect? Of course, I said, but I didn't look back because some tables aren't worth sitting at anymore, and some families only recognize value after it's priced publicly. The view from my office stretched 50 stories high. The city below buzzed unaware, a quiet empire in motion. On my desk sat headlines from the morning papers, the silent CEO behind tech's biggest move. Claire Morgan, from overlooked to over everything. I leaned back watching analysts try to tell a story they never thought belonged to someone like me. Let them talk. I was already building what came next. My assistant knocked lightly. Your sister's downstairs with a Hermes bag. She says it's a peace offering. I smiled. Is it the one she said was too aspirational for me? The very one. I reached into a drawer, pulled out a card, not the polite one, the real one. Give her this, I said. She's earned the right to read my actual title. My phone rang again. This time it was my father. He spoke differently now. No condescension, no advice. Claire, he said, we need to talk. About the family business. Which one, I asked. The one I built in silence or the one I had to buy back from collapse, he sighed. We underestimated you. For years, I replied. And that, I added, was the most generous thing you ever did for me. My schedule was full. Another acquisition, another continent. Still, a group message came through, emergency family meeting tonight. Mandatory attendance. I replied with one sentence, can't attend, building something that works. Then I forwarded the message to a folder labeled too late, because forgiveness isn't forgetting, it's outgrowing. A week later, the country club announced new ownership, a Phoenix Tech property, renovations underway. The patio was gone, the old seating chart too. From now on, success had no assigned table. Sometimes the best revenge isn't yelling across the room, it's quietly buying the room, the building, and the memory they tried to trap you in. I smiled. Then I went back to work. And if you've ever been sent to the patio in your family, your job, your life, just know you're not alone. Some of us build in silence, some of us rise quietly, some of us own the table they once said we didn't belong at. If this story spoke to you, share it with someone who needs the reminder, and subscribe because your empire deserves to be witnessed, one story at a time.